once.
Once when I was 11 years old, I was invited to a party because it was my friend Panza's birthday. And when it was time for the piñata, we all started taking turns hitting it. But then Panza's uncle said, "I'll go, kids." And with the first hit he gave it, he knocked it down and the piñata fell to the ground with all its candy. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw that my dad was already in the car because he had come to pick me up. So I grabbed the piñata and ran. I told my dad, "Go, go, I've got candy for a month." But my dad didn't drive off and made me return the piñata. And Panza's never invited me to his party again. Let's go, bitches. One time my dad gave me a laptop for my birthday, but one day my mom said, "Hey Manuelito, can I borrow your lactuk?" And I was really scared to lend it to her because I thought to myself, I hope she doesn't type the letter P, because if she pressed it, everything would be ruined. And then she calls me and says, "Hey, what's this?" And I see that she had typed the letter P, and it said, "Tweety, scary stories." And she tells me, "Don't watch that, son, then you can't sleep." And woo, good thing she told me, because if not, she would have smashed the laptop on my head. Damn, that was close. One time when I was a kid, my mom left me alone in the car because she got out to buy some cabeza and lengua tacos. But I was really scared that someone would get in the car and take me away. So I would always hide in a space under the seats whenever I saw someone coming, and when my mom came back, she couldn't see me in the car and she got scared. But I would hide so well that even my own mom didn't know where I was. And my mom said, "Damn kid, he must have gotten out and gotten lost." And I said, "Mom, I'm here. Help me get out. I think I got stuck." But the good thing is that I finally got unstuck. Hi. One time when I was using the school bathrooms, a kid stuck his head under the stall and I was pooping. Because that guy was a little crazy in the head, and sometimes he would even go into the girls' bathroom to spy. And that day I really had to take a dump, and the crazy guy peeked under the door, and at that moment I was just about to finish pooping. But I couldn't finish in peace anymore, so I kicked him for being dumb. Once my mom woke me at 3 a.m. to use the bathroom so I wouldn't wet the bed and stain the mattress. She called out, "Sweetie, honey, get up so you can go to the bathroom, little bedwetter." And well, I got up, but when I got up I was still asleep and thought I was already in the bathroom. So I pulled down my shorts and started peeing right there in front of my mom. And my mom's screams woke me up and I realized what I was doing. But then I felt like sneezing and I lost control of my stream. And by accident I peed on my mom. Poor thing, she never came to wake me up again. Now she sends my dad. One time when I was 5 years old, I ate a box of crayons almost by myself just because it was lunchtime, and the teacher said, "Kids, it's time to eat, take out your food." But I had been wanting those crayons the whole time because they looked really tasty. So I started eating them without the teacher noticing, but after a while she saw me and took them away. In the end, when I pooped, it was tutti frutti colored. How gross. When I was a kid, I nearly became the homeless guy on the corner because whenever they rolled the windows down at the gas station, I'd go sniff, sniff, sniff. I loved the smell of gasoline. One day I even asked my mom, "Hey mom, can you buy me a liter of gasoline?" And she looks at me confused and says, "Are you a transformer or what? Why do you want gasoline?" You're crazy. The good thing is she didn't buy it for me. One time my mom was scolding me because I had fought with a kid who took my lollipop. So I started talking back to defend myself, and then my dad came in and took her side. I told them, "That's not fair. 2 against 1. How sneaky." They looked at each other and asked, should we beat him up or buy him a bag of lollipops? I did a Fortnite dance because I was nervous, and since I made them laugh, they bought me a bag of lollipops. One time my parents threw me a birthday party and it accidentally came on the TV and all the kids saw it. Because my birthday is on November 1st and my dad put on a horror movie, but after a few minutes in the movie, they started doing it. And one of my uncles noticed and said to my dad, buddy, the TV, and my dad saw it and ran to turn it off. But on the other hand, my little cousin Tisak was already pulling his junk out, that crazy guy, but who cares? When I was a kid, the water went out at my house. In Latam, having water is like having gold. So they sent for a water truck to supply the whole neighborhood, and they filled 3 barrels for each house. And when I went to take a shower, I got into a bucket so that the water that fell could be reused. But it was dirty water full of soap, and I put it in the clean water tank, and I thought, man, I'm so smart. I'm going to tell my mom, and when my mom gets home, she looks at me and says, "Do you have a brain?" And I said, "Yes, I'm very smart. Can't you see my recycling method?" She laughed and said, "I didn't give you up for adoption because you're handsome. Praise God, they stole my car." Once when I was a kid, I thought I was Flash because I watched the show like a million times. But when I went to visit my grandma, who lives in a small village, I started running faster than the speed of light. And then a dog started chasing me and my grandma shouted from far away, "Run, son, run!" And at that moment, I really believed I was Flash more than ever. The good thing is the dog didn't catch me because it was missing a leg. One time, my physics teacher, whom we called Olmec Head, let out a huge fart because the rice pudding didn't sit well with him. But the damn teacher, instead of taking responsibility for the toxic fart he let out, preferred to blame the fat guy in the class. And a classmate said, "Gross, it smells horrible, like a dead rat." And the teacher says, "Could it be you're the one farting, Peter?" Referring to my heavyset classmate. Peter, fed up, replies, "With all due respect, sir, you're the one who's messed up." I could hear from here that something was rotting inside you. The whole class cracked up, but poor Peter got sent to the principal's office and suspended for 3 days. Once when I was little, I thought islands were just little mounds of land with a palm tree because that's how they showed them in movies and in SpongeBob. But one day I went on vacation with my parents and I asked my mom, "Where are we going?" And she told me we were going to an island called Isla Mujeres. When I got to the boat that was going to take us there, I saw there were like 873 people. So I asked my mom, "Hey mom, how are all these people going to fit on the island? It's going to sink and we'll be in trouble." My mom didn't get what I meant, but when I arrived, I realized islands aren't like in SpongeBob. They're actually big. I even used to think only 5 people lived in Australia. One time my aunt gave me 2,000 pesos because it was Children's Day, so I decided to go to a toy store and spend both of them, 2,000 bucks, just on Nerf bullets. And when I got home, all happy to try out my new Nerf bullets that I had bought, my mom says to me, "Hi son, hey, just so you know, I gave away all your Nerf guns to kids in need." And honestly, I didn't even know how to react. I was just in shock and I said, "Mom, I just spent 2,000 pesos on nothing but bullets. What am I supposed to do with them?" And she says, "Well, we'll just give those away too." No way. The good thing is that in the end, she felt sorry for me and I bought myself a crappy little gun that only fit 1 bullet. Added up, more massive, more massive. One time, my mom accidentally bought me a realistic inflatable doll because I had ordered it from Amazon. I left my clothes lying around, but out of nowhere, my Alexa says, yes, to buy your little car. And then my mom says, "If you leave it again." And she didn't finish the sentence because Alexa started saying, "Buying realistic inflatable doll for men." And I was like, "Alexa, no." But it was already too late. Alexa had already bought it and my mom gave me a spanking with her belt. One time my parents and I went to the beach and I realized that we men do nothing but stupid things in the sand because I started watching what the women were doing. And I saw that they took pictures, sunbathed, took a dip at the edge of the beach. In general, they relaxed. But then I started watching what we men were doing and it was the complete opposite. We would bury ourselves in the sand, throw sand in our faces, and instead of staying at the shore, we would go deep into the water looking for trouble. Or for a barracuda to show up and give our little buddy a kiss with its big teeth.
I said right foot creep, walking with that heat.
One time my mom ruined my breakfast because I wanted to eat yogurt with fruit and I saw there was a container of yogurt in the fridge and I thought, hell yeah, I scored. So I served myself a bowl of fruit, which took me a while to peel, and without realizing it, I start pouring the supposed yogurt. But as it was coming out, I saw that stuff was black. And that's when I realized it wasn't yogurt, it was beans. My mom had put them there. And to top it off, they'd been in the fridge for months because they were green and smelled really bad. One time when I was sleeping, I had a really horrible nightmare because I was dreaming that I couldn't run, so to prove to my dumb brain that it wasn't real. That day, I told my family we should go to the park. And at the park, I started running faster than my uncle, but then a Rottweiler dog started chasing me. Except this one actually had all 4 legs, and the good thing is that in the end, I climbed onto a truck so it couldn't catch me. One time my mom told me to go wash my teeth, but I was 10 years old and I took it literally. So I grabbed some soap and bit into it and I started chewing it. So I thought my teeth would be sparkling clean, but it tasted awful. When my mom checked on me because I was taking so long, she saw all the foam in my mouth and thought I had rabies. And in the end, she realized I was holding the soap in my hand. And she says to me, "What are you doing, crazy? That's not how you do it. It was supposed to be with the toothbrush and toothpaste. I don't think this kid is very smart." One time when it was exam season, I thought I had studied studied really well because I stayed up until 2 in the morning to learn everything. And the next day we went to the exam and I was the first one to finish. And I said to myself, hell yeah, I'm awesome. I finished before everyone else. And 2 days later, the teacher brings the results and she says, okay guys, I'm going to start from the worst to the best. And I thought, I'm probably going to have to wait a while to find out my grade. I'm sure I was the best. And then she starts, Manuel, you got a 1.8. And I was like, what the hell, shit, good thing it's out of 10. Otherwise, I would have gotten a -10. At that moment, Zell felt true terror. Once during Halloween, I almost sent my little brother to meet God because I put on a scary mask and grabbed a dull knife and went up to his room. So when I appeared, he started screaming and threw himself back onto the bed and he started yelling, no sir, please, and I had to take off the mask because the guy was about to have a heart attack. The worst part was I wore the same clothes he'd seen me in all day, yet he didn't recognize me. In the end, he told on me and I got a beating. People only learn through beatings. One time my old English teacher told us to find a partner because we had to do a presentation about the verb to be. So when I went to look for my best friend Alfredito, I turned to look. And he had betrayed me with his girlfriend Melissa. And that very day, my other friend Memo didn't show up right when I needed him the most. And in the end, I had to team up with the quiet guy in the class, the one who brought his death note to school every day. The good thing is that he told me some shady things he wrote in his little notebook. And well, I like gossip. One time when I was at a party, I thought my friend Juan was vaping because I saw him putting something in his mouth and then blowing out some smoke. So I went over to him, grabbed that thing and ran off to throw it out on the street. But it was because I was looking out for him. And when he chased after me, he was saying, that's my inhaler, I'm asthmatic. But honestly, I couldn't hear anything or understand because of the music. And then from running, he started to get worked up and really needed his inhaler, but I had already thrown it out on the street. The good thing is that in the end, he calmed down. But man, I almost sent my friend to meet God and the Virgin Mary. My moment had arrived. Friends, before I finish the video, I wanted to take a little moment at the end to thank you all so much for this 2023. For making it my best year. Thank you so much infinitely for all your support. I hope that in 2024 the stories will keep being really good for you all. Above all, that they're good enough to keep making you laugh and that you'll let me be a part of your lives with my stories this 2024, this coming year that's just around the corner. I also want to wish you a Merry Christmas. May God bless you and may you have an amazing and excellent Christmas with all your family. May the dinner be delicious and may you set off some fireworks, not too many because otherwise the dogs get scared. But in general, I hope you have fun and spend an unforgettable time with all your loved ones. Seriously, thank you for everything. Thanks to God as well for everything He gave me this year. We'll keep working hard, my team of editors and I, to keep bringing you quality content you deserve, to keep brightening your lives and your moments, above all if you'll let me. So thank you so much. I love you all. Bye.